Hello, and welcome to my individual capstone project presentation on FedEx Corporation for MBAD 6990 Strategic Knowledge Integration with Dr. Jody Potter and Dr. Tappan Seth. Today I'll be talking about a particular issue and strategic direction that the company needs to take in order to maintain and enhance its competitive advantage in the transportation and e-commerce industries. I'll start with a brief overview of the external environment in which FedEx operates. Then I'll spend the majority of my time highlighting the internal environment in order to elucidate the strategies that FedEx should leverage moving forward. FedEx Corporation has been a staple of the US and global economy for over half a century. The company revolutionized the transportation industry by introducing overnight air freight and pioneering technological advancements such as online package tracking. The company has grown tremendously, employing over 500,000 people and operating a global network that delivers billions of packages a year across the world. So strategic direction is more important now than ever. The primary issue the company faces now is the fact that they're still organized into federated operating companies and they're overly reliant on their physical network for economic growth. For these reasons, I'm recommending a twofold strategy that FedEx employ in order to sustain its competitive advantage within the transportation industry, as well as create a new competitive advantage and compete more directly in the e-commerce industry. First, the company must accelerate what it's already started, which is to integrate its operating companies and transportation networks. And second, it needs to scale up its FDX digital platform that it recently launched by adding new capabilities and partnering with millions of shippers to compete more directly with e-commerce companies like Amazon. This joint strategy will enable FedEx to dramatically reduce structural cost and implement entirely new revenue streams to diversify its portfolio and move up the value chain in the supply chain technology industry. At the highest level, the transportation industry is worth over $7 trillion and is expected to grow by over 5% per year to over $11 trillion by the end of the decade. It includes a vast range of submodes of including air freight and logistics, airlines, marines, road and rail, and other forms. Some of the major factors that impact the industry and relate to its attractiveness include its population growth, e-commerce, infrastructure development, geopolitical conflicts, climate change, and technology. Its largest rivals from a strict transportation sense include UPS and DHL. USPS used to be a major partner of FedEx, as FedEx used to ship millions of their packages a year. But that contract was recently not renewed. They are also a government agency, which makes them compete somewhat differently. Finally, there's Amazon, who in recent years has built their own transportation network and now competes more directly with FedEx. FedEx is also expanding its e-commerce presence to compete more directly with Amazon in this industry as well. There are numerous driving forces that influence the industry in which FedEx competes, many of which can be very complicated, dynamic, and interrelated. Main factors affecting company earnings include fuel costs, labor costs, demand for services, geopolitical events, and government regulations, and many of these factors are interconnected. Rapid advancements in technology also serve as a major driver of change for the transportation industry. All these factors influence the degree to which the big five forces impact FedEx, especially in terms of bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, and the threat of substitute products or services. FedEx is constantly facing pressures from all the forces, but at this point in the company's history, the greatest pressure come from the rivalry among existing competitors. 5 years ago, it would have been new entrants like Amazon, who had just made the strategic decision to build their own transportation network to ship their own products, but now they're established and the competition remains strong with the likes of UPS, DHL, and USPS as well. FedEx's mission is a simple one: to make supply chain smarter for everyone. The company is committed to enabling commerce by providing transportation, logistics, and supply chain solutions for customers around the world, and doing so with a high degree of quality, integrity, and efficiency to improve communities and generate value for all its stakeholders and shareholders. From a financial perspective, it's grown to become one of the largest and most valuable companies in the world. Specifically, within the past 5 years, the company has continued to grow its revenues significantly to $88 billion in FY 2024, up from $69 billion in FY 2020. Other financial metrics have improved positively during that time frame, with a particular surge in the FY 20 to FY 2021 timeframe due to the surge in e-commerce shipments and FedEx's ability to scale up and support that growth profitably. This was an event that further proved the fact that e-commerce needs to be a future focus of the company. FedEx core competency is most certainly its vast physical network of buildings and vehicles, and its ability to pick up and deliver millions of packages every day to all corners of the globe. This network is one that took decades to build and is not one any competitor could emulate in a short amount of time. The company leverages this core competency to compete extremely well in the transportation industry, but has a great opportunity if it can continue expanding one step up the value chain in supply chain technology to compete more directly in the e-commerce sector. As far as transportation goes, the two primary elements of competitive position include cost and speed. FedEx has a superior international and express service compared to UPS, but UPS has a slight edge over FedEx in terms of cost-efficient ground transportation. They also have higher overall service levels and faster averages all up. FedEx's pursuit of its strategy to integrate its operating companies and disparate transportation networks, coupled with its growth in its e-commerce platform, FDX, helped the organization achieve sustained competitive advantage because what the company is building is valuable, rare, imitatively costly, and sets them up to be organized to capture value to a great degree. An intelligent and integrated network that can dynamically route packages at the best cost to serve that is also as vast as FedEx's network is extremely valuable because it enables a company to provide fast and cost-effective services to its customers around the world. It is rare because there are just a handful of companies that have been able to build such a network. One of its most defining features is how imitatively costly it would be to try and build such a network, as it is extremely capital intensive to purchase and or lease transportation equipment, build and run sortation facilities, hire and or contract with hundreds of thousands of employees to run the network, lease airport real estate, and build all the necessary technology systems to make it dynamic, intelligent, and interface with customers well. In addition to the cost, the amount of time it takes to build such a network is one that can only be measured in decades at the scale of implementation that FedEx has achieved. Finally, FedEx is organized now more than ever to capture this value since it's begun its journey to integrating its networks, as well as having launched its first iteration of the FDX e-commerce platform. The degree to which the company can accelerate this journey and make its e-commerce platform ubiquitous in the industry and profitable will determine the degree of sustained competitive advantage that FedEx will experience moving forward. From a financial perspective, the company has finally caught up to UPS in terms of revenue, but has a ways to go to catch up to them in profitability, and the comparisons to Amazon show the massive upside potential of continuing to lean in the e-commerce space. FedEx has pursued a strategy of related diversification and has made many strategic acquisitions over the year to expand its capabilities in the transportation or adjacent industry, or to expand into new markets around the world. They now operate in over 220 countries, basically any company the U.S. is legally allowed to trade with, which has served to diversify their portfolio in many ways. Their most significant acquisition of TNT Express expanded their presence dramatically in Europe and other parts of the world and positioned them nicely against UPS, as UPS tried and failed to acquire their company in years prior. Finally, FedEx's early acquisitions of companies in places like China and India enabled them to benefit from the rapid growth in those nations over the past decades. The organizational structure of FedEx has evolved over the years and undergone massive transformation in recent years. The company was once federated into many separating operating companies, which were a source of strength initially for the company, but became severe weaknesses over time. Rather than fully integrate technologies, facilities, operations, and people organizations, the company decided to keep its air network separate from its ground network, FedEx Express and FedEx Ground, respectively, while also keeping many other critical aspects of its operations separate, like its IT organization being a part of its own operating company, FedEx Services. Finally, as of this year, the company has brought together its biggest operating companies into one overarching company and organizational structure. FedEx Express, FedEx Ground, and FedEx Services integrated officially on the books this year, and the company is still in the process of integrating their operations, including buildings, technology systems, reporting structures, etc., to streamline operations and sweat the company's assets. As approximately 40 and $30 billion companies, the integration of FedEx Express and FedEx Ground represents one of the biggest mergers in North American history. It just happens to be happening within the same overarching company. The company is starting to see some real benefits that are not only improving its services and financials, but are helping forge a more integrated and stronger culture that is taking the best elements from both worlds and allowing unproductive aspects of the culture to fall by the wayside. FedEx has put a lot of intentional thought into developing its ethics and corporate social responsibility statements, as well as continuously evolving its HR policies. The company works hard to foster a culture of accountability, collaboration, innovation, and action, and ensures employees understand how to be resourceful, responsible, and operate with integrity. Their efforts have enabled them to be recognized as one of the most ethical companies in the world by Ethisphere. In addition to defining and implementing its code of conduct, FedEx publishes its environmental, social, and governance report every year to showcase the many actions and outcomes the company took in support of its social responsibility commitments. Due to the scale of its operations, FedEx recognizes its unique ability to make a tangible and lasting impact to communities around the world. They save hundreds of millions of gallons of jet fuel, operate nearly 10,000 electric vehicles, provide tens of millions in tuition assistance to their employees, and support over 1 million jobs around the world through their spending. Additionally, they have extensive HR policies that support their strategies. But one area of opportunity is to continue to integrate their policies across operating companies to avoid employees leaving one operating company for another. This is just one more instance why accelerating internal integration of operations is so important. Finally, I would like to highlight a couple important leaders in the company that will help FedEx achieve its strategies. On the left is Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx, who is still the chairman of the board. And on the right is Sriram Krishnasamy, the Chief Transformation Officer, Chief Digital and Information Officer, and CEO of FedEx DataWorks. Both leaders have created enduring greatness through their willpower and humility. On one hand, Fred was the visionary leader with extensive transportation expertise who grew the company to what it has become today. And on the other hand, Sriram helped create the FDX platform, has a deep understanding of digital technology, and continues to lead the massive organizational transformation that is still underway. These two leaders help represent the varied yet complementary leadership styles in the company that will help FedEx simultaneously accelerate the integration of their transportation networks while also explore new digital frontiers to diversify its revenue streams and compete in a greater and sustained way in the e-commerce industry. Thank you for your time and attention, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.